Hi everyone, today we're going to be etching with alumina squares from Crafter's Choice. You can get these alumina or aluminium sheet metal from pretty much any craft store. If you look around, you may get them even cheaper online. I got these at a bargain on sale for $7. These are 1mm. Your Cricut and Cricut Maker 3 can do 3mm, but probably best to stick with 1 or 2mm dimension, just to be safe. You will need a tool tip number 41. I'm not sure if you can see that, tool tip 41. And your rotary housing, which you may have got with one of your tools when you first bought your machine, or you can buy it in a full assemble piece. So you need to put that in your B clamp, as I've just done so, and you also need a strong grip mat, which is the purple one. I've already stuck down somewhat my sheet metal, which I'm going to engrave on. I know exactly where I want to put it. I have done a previous video with acrylics, engraving with acrylics and etching, so you might want to check that out in our library. They come with a blue protective sheet on both sides. I've already peeled mine off. I'm going to do a pattern that I found on Design Space, and I'm going to show you exactly what to do with that. So just like I said, take one of these out, take one side off, leave the backing on there, line it up, and don't put it right on the edge of your mat. You want to like have it come in a bit. So I've got it in one cell row from my edge of my mat, and I'm going to use some painter's tape just to hold it down a little bit more, because I just want to make sure it doesn't move and make sure that it's all in line with my edging of my mat dimension. Just to hold that down a bit. Just give me a second, I'll just do this. Just to be safe and make sure that it doesn't move. Even though it's a super strong mat, you still want to tape it down. So you also want to make sure your white rollers, as you can see on your Maker or Maker 3, are moved right over. Being metal and have come in, I'm going to keep one roller right on the edge there. You could possibly move them all over, it wouldn't really matter, but just as long as they don't run over the top of the metal sheet is what you're trying to avoid. But we're just going to flick through over to my monitor, and you'll see that I've already chosen a designed Celtic symbol. I've also got a square frame, which is the dimension of the actual coasters, which are 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. I'll just show you a little handy trick to help you guide your project incorrectly, make sure it's all okay, is by creating a shape and making it the size of the actual sheet metal that we're working with, or acrylic, whatever it may be. So you've got your 10 by 10 centimeter sizing. You can turn this into a pen line, so it will now give you where your coaster exactly is going to be with your project inside of it, so you know that that's the size of your project, and whatever you do, you need to put it within that parameters. But you can also do etching, engraving. Now you do not want to attach this to your actual project, because that's actually going to cut around the whole edge of your sheet metal or acrylic. So it's probably best to keep it as a pen mark and not put a pen inside your A slot on your Maker, as indicated there. It's just a little nice trick to because it will still do your pen mark line without actually having a pen in there. So I've now positioned that exactly where I want it. I do want to make it a little bit smaller because I don't want it to run into my blue painter's tape. So I want to make sure it's going to be nicely positioned in the center, and I'm going to group the two of them and I'm going to center them together just to see what that looks like. That looks great. So to do engraving, which I should have explained first, you need to pick yourself a picture or item or flowers or whatever it may be. For example, in your image search here, you can put a flower if that's what you want to engrave, and you can bring that over into your canvas and then select your operation where your basic cut is, drop down and go engrave, and now it will engrave the outline of that actual flower. It will not do a solid piece within that. If you go to my acrylics video that was previously uploaded, you will see how you can fill that in. But doing sheet metal, I'm not going to do a fill-in hack so that it will etch within the outline. I want it to actually do just an engraving and not do a solid fill. So head over to the acrylic engraving to see how to fill in a design, but that's how we turn our object into a engrave. If I go back to basic, you'll see it was solid, and then if I drop down operations and go to engrave, you'll see that's my engraving. So I don't actually want to attach that. Some people do attach it and then bring it over. I'll actually show you a convenient, better trick for me that might work for you, because if you do make your square 10 by 10 pen mark, you won't have all the options when it comes to engraving. So when you go to engraving, so we'll leave it on there and we'll go make it, and I'm not going to line them up, but I'll just show you for now. You go to continue and you select your material in the browse. You'll see that if you were to select plastic, acrylic is only 1 millimeter, and that's not exactly what most acrylics are. You can have 2 millimeters, and I did in my previous video did do 2 millimeters, and you'll see I had to actually go back and change that pen marker to an engraving marker because it wasn't bringing up the 2 millimeters. So now I've now changed that to engrave, and I'm going to continue through, select my material, and I'm going to go to plastic, and then you'll see there's 2 millimeter acrylics there. So like I said, you don't necessarily want to have that pen mark there, but then you can't attach it, and then if you do attach it, you'll have to keep the pen mark because you don't want to etch your square lines. So the best way to do that is leave it as engrave, line it up on your mat exactly where you've got it on your actual purple mat, line your picture up exactly where you want to put it, and you can use the grid lines to make sure it's symmetric. As I've done, I've put the 2 points north, south, east and west in line. So I may have to just move that over a little bit. It's not 100% symmetric, this image, but that's okay. We want to put it in there, in line. I'm pretty happy with where that is. So now I'm going to deselect, click on the square, and I'm actually going to move that to make sure it's not in the way, and then I'm going to hide it. So now my project's in place where my actual sheet metal is taped to my mat, and as long as I don't move that, I should be fine. I don't need to mirror this as I did with my acrylic. I'm happy where that is, and I'm going to continue now, and we're going to look for other, foil and metal, and we're going to look at the type of foil and metal we have. So we've got metal, 40 gauge thin copper, acidide, alumina sheets, and that's what we want, the aluminium sheets. So we're going to select that, and we're going to continue through, and we're going to select more because we want to make sure that it's clamped in. Pressure is a lot more dense than just default, and we're now going to load this in. Make sure our rollers are not in the way. Let it run through and start our project, and we'll be back in a minute once that's started through. Just keep an eye on your project too before you do walk away. Be sure to keep an eye on it. You never know what might actually happen if you step away, so we'll let that do its thing. Be right back. Okay, so that's now finished, and like I said, because we actually hid the square dimension of the sheet metal, the sizing, it didn't engrave along the edge. So like I said, if you just grab the little 3 dots and then go hide instead of moving, you just hide it and etch along, and there you have it. I hope you can see that, how that came out. Sorry about the light reflection. But there's our nice engraved coaster, and I've already taken the backing off, but you can get little rubber grommets from your local hardware store and put them down so you got little feet, and you could possibly paint marker these like I did with the acrylic on my previous video, or you could just leave them plain. It's up to you. You may even do resin and then coat it with a clear resin after. That's your choice, but there you have it. A simple, easy engraving on sheet metal, just like you do with your acrylics. I hope that was helpful, and if you did like the video, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again. Thanks.